Have you ever come across a crochet technique that looks crazy complicated, only to realize it's actually not as scary as you thought? That's how I felt about mosaic crochet. But then I found Inset Mosaic Crochet and I've never looked back. This technique lets you create the most crisp, eye-catching images without all those pesky ends to weave in. Game changer, right? Hi, I'm Tony of TL Yarn Crafts, and if you're ready to try this brilliant little trick, hit that like button and join our crafty family for weekly demos and inspiration. Now, let's talk materials. This video is one of many helpful tutorials to accompany the Crochet Amour Sampler, a beautiful 20-block Afghan that teaches new crochet stitches and techniques with every square. To get the row-by-row instructions for this square and find out how to make the entire sampler blanket, visit the link in the description. To make our mosaic square, we're going to need a few supplies, including our yarn. Big thanks to our friends at We Crochet for sharing Memento with me. Memento is a DK weight 100% Pima cotton, and the crisp, gorgeous twist on this yarn is going to make our stitches pop. I'll be using 3 different colors for this demo. In addition to the yarn, we'll also need our crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, and the most important part is going to be our chart here. We'll start from the bottom right corner of our chart, and notice that we have a key here. For all of our blank spaces, we'll be working a single crochet. For anything with an X, we'll be working a double crochet in the skip stitch 3 rows below, and anything with a circle, we'll be making a chain 2 and skipping the space or stitch below. And you can adjust this chart specifically by working a chain that is a multiple of 7 plus 4. To keep track of where you are in the chart, you can use tape, you can use a ruler, anything that you like. I personally like to use this chart keeper, also from We Crochet. And in here we have a magnetic board and several magnets. So we can set up our chart and then move our magnet up or down based on where we are in the chart. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up and we will start our mosaic square. We'll begin our square with a foundation single crochet that is a multiple of 7 plus 4. So I'm going to do 3 repeats. So 7 times 3 is 21 plus 4 makes 25. So I need to do foundation single crochet of 25. So I'll start with my slip knot. Place that on my hook, and I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. Then I'm going to go into that first chain that I made right here, insert, yarn over, and pull up a loop. I need to yarn over and pull through 1 loop to start. Make sure I don't do that too tight. Then yarn over and pull through the last 2, just like that. So now I'm going to go back into that chain that I made. I want to make sure I grab 2 loops of that chain right here at the top of my work. Yarn over and pull up a nice tall loop. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Back into 2 loops of the chain, yarn over, pull up a tall loop. We pull up a tall loop because that is the loop that we're going back into for our chain. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Back into the chain, making sure we grab 2 loops there at the top, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through, and through 2. So I'm going to make 25 of these total. And let me show you how we'll count those. So this is actually going to be the bottom of my work. When I pull my loop up and out, this is going to be the top. So I'm going to flip it to look this way. So I'm going to count the V's at the top. I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches so far, and I need 25 total. So continue making your foundation and join me here when you're done and we'll start our chart. All of my foundation stitches are now complete, and this foundation counts as our first row on our chart. So our first row, row 1 here, is all open spaces, which means that it's all single crochets. Our next row is also all open spaces, so it's just single crochets. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and place a single crochet in each stitch down the line, being sure to catch both loops of each of those stitches. And when I get to the end of this row, I'm going to change color and we can move on to row 3. So here I am on my last stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop in that stitch. I'm going to drop my first color and grab my second color here, leaving a tail long enough to weave in later, yarn over and pull through. chain 1, and turn my work. So now I can take a look at my chart and see what my requirements are for row 3. So if I look at row 3 here, I'm starting my row and every row with 2 single crochets. So here's 1 and 2, and that's before we even jump into the repeat. Every row starts with 2 single crochets and ends with 2 single crochets as per the chart. So now looking at row 3, after our 2 single crochets, we have an open space, which is just a single crochet, and then we have a circle. Remember that our circle is chain 2, and we're going to skip the chains below. So single for that open space, and then we chain 2, and we're going to skip this next stitch. And now for the rest of the repeat, we just have open spaces. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 open spaces. So we're skipping this space here, or that stitch there, and we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets. Now we move to the next repeat, which is just the same thing. So it's a single, chain 2 and skip, and then 5 more singles. So single, chain 2 and skip, 5 singles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got another repeat, which is a single, chain 2, skip 1, single in the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We finish our third repeat. We have 2 stitches left, and remember each row ends with 2 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2. And that completes row 3. We'll chain 1, turn our work to begin row 4. Now row 4 and all of our wrong side rows are worked from left to right in the chart. So if we look at row 4 here, we still start with 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and now we essentially read the repeat backwards. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, a chain 2 and skip, and another single for our repeat. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles. We've got a circle on top of a circle, so a space on top of a space. So we'll chain 2, skip this space, single in the next stitch. And now we do that repeat again. 5 singles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 2, skip the space, single in the next. One more repeat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 2, skip the space, single in the next stitch. And that is our third repeat. And we're going to end the row as always with 2 singles. And we're also going to change color at the end of this row. So I'm going to drop my tan color and I'm going to grab my yellow. I'm just bringing that up the side of the work. So we're not fastening anything off. We don't end up with a whole bunch of ends here. Chain 1 and turn. So that completes rows 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's move on to row 5, which is where we start with our double crochets and actually start to see that mosaic technique take shape. So row 5, as always, counts with 2 single crochets, or starts with 2 single crochets, just like that. And now to get into the repeat, we have a space, a double, and a space. It starts with a chain 2 and skip 1, so there's our chain space, and now we need to double in this stitch 3 rows below. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to grab that stitch, grabbing both loops of it and bringing my hook back to the front of the work, yarn over and pull up that loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and 2 again to complete the double crochet. We have a space right after this double crochet, so we chain 2, and we're skipping this single right here. And now we need to single in each of the next 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have one more repeat. So we have a space, chain 2, skip the stitch, and then we have our double crochet worked into this skip stitch 3 rows below. Just like that. we have another chain space. So we're skipping this single crochet right here. Take your time, make sure you can identify your stitches, and then single in each of the next 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And remember, the row ends with 2 single crochets. There's 1 and 2. So that's what it looks like so far. Not too much, but we're building a foundation. Be patient, we're getting there. Chain 1 and we'll turn our work. And now we're moving on to row 6. I'm just gonna move my little thing up so I can see what I'm doing. So now for row 6, we start with our 2 single crochets, and remember we're reading this left to right now. So we have 4 singles, a space, a single, and a space. So let's do that. So remember, we start with 2 single crochets to begin the row, and that's outside of the repeat. And now the repeat has us doing 4 singles, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a space, so chain 2, skip this space. We have a single in the next stitch, and then we have a space and skip the space. And that is the repeat. So single in the next 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a space, chain 2, skip the space, single in the next 1, a chain 2, and skip the space. One more repeat together. 1, 2, 3, 4 singles, a space, so chain 2, skip the space, a single, and a chain 2, skip the space. Now our row always ends with 2 single crochets. Here's 1, and on that second one, we need to change color again. So I'm just gonna pull up my tan color, not cutting anything. Yarn over, pull through, chain 1 to start the row, and turn. So now we can see how those double crochets are sitting on the front side of the work, and here's what it looks like on the back. Let's move on to our next row together, and that is going to be row 7. So row 7 starts with our 2 single crochets. As always, there's 1 and 2. Now our repeat is double, space, double, single 3, space. You see that? Double, space, double, single 3, and a space. So here we have our 2 chain spaces. We're going to double in that single 3 rows below. So making sure I grab both of those loops and complete my double crochet. So it's double, space, and then double again. So this is what we're skipping. We need to place a double crochet in this stitch 3 rows below. And then we're going to single in each of the next 3. 1, 2, 3, and we end the repeat with a space. And so we skip this stitch here. So now we return to the repeat, which is a double, space, double, single 3, space. So we're skipping this stitch. So we've got a double going here, double, space. So we're skipping this, and then a double here, double, space, double, single 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we end the repeat with a space and skip this stitch. Let's move right into the next repeat, which starts with a double, a space, followed by a double, single 3, 1, 2, 3, and we end with a space. So we'll skip this stitch here. Row ends with 2 single crochets just like normal. 1 and 2. Chain 1 and turn our work. And we can now move on to row 8, which is read from left to right, all wrong side, even numbered rows, read from left to right. So looking at row 8 here, cover that up real good. There we go. So we're starting with our 2 single crochets, just like always, 1 and 2. And then we have a space, We'll skip this here, and then we single 1, 2, 3, 4, a space and a single. So single 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4, space, and a single, and that ends the repeat. So the repeat is space, single 4, space, single 1. So space, single 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, space, single 1. Again, space, single 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, space, single 1. And now we're at the end of the row and we just have our 2 singles to do. There's 1 and 2, and remember at the end of this row, we're going to change color. Chain 1 and turn. Now we can see a bit more of that mosaic pattern peeking out. So I'm going to continue from here. We have 14 total rows in our repeat. Join me here after row 12. We'll do rows 13 and 14 together. I just completed my chart up through row 12, and this is what it looks like. So you can really start to see that mosaic pattern coming out, but we've got one more set of rows to really make it pop. So we're gonna move on to row 13, which starts with 2 singles. And then for the repeat, we have 6 singles and 1 double crochet. So here we go. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here are 2 spaces. So we're going 1, 2, 3 rows below to grab this single crochet. Make sure you grab both loops and complete that stitch. So there's the repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a double crochet in that stitch 3 rows below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 singles, and a double in that skipped stitch 3 rows below. End of the row, we still have 2 singles to do. We chain 1 and turn. And now for row 14, we just single crochet all the way across. Now at the end of this row, we are going to change color, but I'm going to fasten off my yellow, but not my tan. We're going to continue with the tan in the next section. So I'm going to yarn over with my tan, pull up the loop, chain 1, turn, and would you look at that? Oh my gosh, it looks so good. I love how crisp color work looks in cotton. It's unmatched. It's so beautiful. So we can see that lovely mosaic pattern happening by following our chart. Now, for the second half of our chart, it's essentially the same thing, but in reverse. So you can see how our chart kind of moved this way. This time it's moving this way. So we're going to continue on and start with rows 15 and 16, which are just single crochet rows. So we're now working with our tan. We've done our chain 1 and turned our work. So we're going to do 2 rows of single crochet with our tan color. I've got just a few stitches left here, and on this last stitch, just like before, we are changing color, and I'm going to this brilliant red. It's so pretty. All right, chain 2, and I'm turning my work. So we are now on row 17. Remember that our odd numbered rows are on the right side and they're worked from right to left. So our rows, as always, start with 2 singles. And then the repeat for this row is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, an open space, and then another single. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, an open space. Remember that's a chain 2, skip the next space, and then we'll single in the last to complete the repeat. So here we go again, 5 singles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, an open space, skip that stitch, single in the next. I have 3 repeats, so I need to do this one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, chain 2, skip the stitch, single in the next. That ends the repeat, and then we have 2 singles left, 1 and 2. So we're going to complete the remaining rows, rows 18 through 28, just like with the same exact technique as we did these. The picture that emerges though is going to be mirrored. So I'm gonna go off and work on mine. You go work on yours, you come back, we'll compare notes and see if we are in the same place. Alrighty, my friends, I've completed through row 28 on the chart. So this is row 1 through 14. This is rows 15 through 28. And you can see how our motif is kind of going this way on this bottom half and this way on the top half. So they're essentially just mirrored images. We also switch up the colors to really play around with where your eye moves and the illusion. It's just so very cool. And I really hope that you found this technique easier than you thought it would be. I certainly did. I was very averse to mosaic crochet for a long time. And then I tried this and I was like, you know what? I see the appeal. I see why y'all like this. Thanks so much for joining me for this tutorial for the Inset Mosaic Crochet technique. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.